and welcome everybody to our Zoom Q&A. If you were with us in person, we would be doing this in person, obviously. And thank you to our attendees as they're slowly rolling in. And we are also recording this so we can share it in the future with our audience. I am Maria Nicolakaki. I'm here with my colleagues Cleon Skridis and Katerina Steck, and we're with the San Francisco Greek Film Festival. And we are delighted today to have with us three filmmakers whose films we had the honor of showing in our film festival. And their films were recognized as the audience favorites. And we wanted to take this opportunity to just speak with them a little bit. So I am just going to basically give the first question and we'll go around the room. I just want you to introduce yourselves and tell us what your film is, though we know, and tell us what was it that motivated you to make this particular film? What was your inspiration to make the film that you did? Okay, who would like to go first?
Sonia, maybe.
Sonia, let's start with a lady.
Hello everyone, I'm Sonia Liza Kenterman, and I'm the co-writer and director of Tailor. And the film is about a 50-year-old tailor who has inherited the tailoring shop from his father, who's still alive. And he has isolated himself into the attic of his shop. And he has absolutely no customers anymore. He seems to be continuing a routine of waking up every day and preparing the shop for the customers who never ever enter his shop. So when he finally realizes that he's going to lose it and the bank is going to take it, he needs to find a way to reinvent himself and his craft in order to keep his business alive and his craft as well. So he becomes a kind of a modern street tailor. And the initial motivation was a story about the crisis in Greece, because we started writing, along with my American co-writer, Tracy, this story in the midst of the financial and social crisis in Greece. And as we went along with the story and the character, I think it developed a lot to more of a personal crisis. So, because we decided him to be a tailor, which is a dying craft anyhow, so he would have to face a change in his profession and an end of an era somehow. So it became more of a coming of old age story of a 50-year-old man who needs to find a way to take life in his own hands and escape from the shadow of his father.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Sonia. All right, I'm gonna go next to Mihaly because he's next to me on the screen. Mihaly, go for it.
Yeah, well, thank you for hosting this panel. It's a great pleasure to meet everyone in person, even though it's through this virtual platform. And yeah, what was the inspiration behind the film? It's a twofold answer. First of all, we wanted to highlight, my film is called The Parrot Lady, and it's based on a real life character that you can see roaming in the streets of my hometown here in Cyprus. And that person for us symbolizes a lot of things. Being homeless is something that is not a common thing for a small community like my town here in Cyprus. And through this story, we wanted to use this exceptional, extraordinary, let's say, character to symbolize an aspect of modern society where talk about old age, about the fear of dying alone. All of these subjects that are very important, but at the same time, younger people, or in general, even within the Greek or Cypriot community, where we usually like to talk a lot about the aspect of solidarity, that it's supposed to be very strong within our communities. We recognize that there are issues, but do we actually take action to help our fellow citizens and so forth? So through this real life story that we took inspiration from, we wanted to just raise these subjects and maybe intrigued the viewers to think about them through the art of animation. So that's, I guess, the first part of the reason. The second is I'm the founder, the owner, let's say, of an animation studio. It's the longest running animation studio in Cyprus. 12 years now. It's pretty much the only established animation studio in Cyprus. I have a team of 15 people that are in-house full-time, and this was a way also for me to create room for creativity for the talent on my team. Usually in the animation, the director is it takes a very important role as that one person that that usually does everything. But in my case, I was more like a choreographer. I just wanted to create an opportunity, and actually we invested a lot of our own money into this film. Other than the small grant that we got from the government, we actually invested an extra 40,000 euros into the film, so that we could actually work on something without the pressure of doing something for a client, so that we could actually try new techniques, learn, make mistakes, and not be afraid of making those mistakes. So we also learned a lot from that process, and now we are in a better position to make something better for our next film.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Argyris.
Τώρα είναι η σειρά μου.
Σειρά σου.
Γεια σε όλους και από μένα. Ευχαριστώ και εγώ πάρα πολύ για την φιλοξενία σε αυτό το πάνελ. Ευχαριστώ
Thank you very much for inviting me to be on this panel.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ βέβαια και για τη φιλοξενία της ταινίας στο φεστιβάλ, αλλά και το κοινό που την ψήφισε.
Thank you for choosing my film to be included in the festival and for the award I received from the audience.
Ο λόγος που σκέφτηκα να κάνω αυτό το ντοκιμαντέρ μου ήταν Athos, η πιο φωτεινή κορυφή του κόσμου.
My documentary was about the holy mountain named Athos.
Ο λόγος που σκέφτηκα να το κάνω είναι επειδή πάω συχνά στο Άγιο Όρος και το αγαπώ πολύ. Πηγαίνω συχνά ως προσκυνητής και το αγαπώ πολύ.
My primary motivation to choose the subject matter is because I'm a frequent visitor to the holy mountain.
Επειδή ασχολούμαι ερασιτεχνικά με τη φωτογραφία και το βίντεο, ανεβάζω βίντεο στο YouTube, πάντα κατέγραφα, έφτιαχνα μικρά βιντεάκια, τα οποία έβλεπα ότι είχαν πάρα πολύ μεγάλη απήχηση στον κόσμο.
Because my love is photography and I have done several small videos put on YouTube.
Έτσι αποφάσισα να κάνω ένα ντοκιμαντέρ, παρότι υπήρχαν αρκετά ακόμη που έχουν βγει για το Όρος, στο οποίο το ντοκιμαντέρ να έχει τη ματιά ενός ανθρώπου που πάει ως προσκυνητής και βλέπει το Άγιο Όρος όχι μακροσκοπικά, όχι ως μνημείο, ως μια μεγάλη πολιτεία, μια ξεχωριστή πολιτεία, αλλά μιλώντας με ανθρώπους σε ένα προσωπικό επίπεδο.
I decided to do the documentary on Mount Athos from a personal perspective, from that of a visitor who has felt for those experiences of being there. I decided my documentary not to be on a macroscopic level, but more as a personal experience.
Και αυτός ήταν ο λόγος που για πρώτη φορά αποφάσισα να ασχοληθώ με τη δημιουργία ντοκιμαντέρ. Δεν είχα ασχοληθεί άλλη φορά στο παρελθόν. Είναι το πρώτο ντοκιμαντέρ.
This is the first time that I have done a documentary.
Και προσπάθησα να το κάνω μόνος, με τη βοήθεια κάποιων φίλων βέβαια, που χρειάστηκε.
It was a personal initiative. I did this strictly by myself with a bit of help from different people.
Yeah. So I'm going to use that as a segue into our second question, and Argyris, you could just continue on to this. What challenges did you all face in making your film, including COVID? Of course, we're in a worldwide pandemic or not, but share with us a little bit, like what challenges did you encounter, if any, in the making of your film?
Αργύρη, η ερώτηση είναι...
Τι προκλήσεις βρήκα και τι δυσκολίες
τι προκλήσεις συνάντησες, ειδικά στη φάση του κορονοϊού, φτιάχνοντας αυτή την ταινία.
Στη φάση του κορονοϊού δεν συνάντησα καμία, γιατί την είχα ολοκληρώσει λίγο πριν αρχίσει ο κορονοϊός.
I was lucky enough to complete my film before COVID became...
Οι δυσκολίες που συνάντησα ήταν πρώτον οι δυσκολίες ενός ανθρώπου που κάνει πρώτη φορά κάποια δουλειά. Ήταν η πρώτη φορά που ασχολούμαι.
I encountered the obvious difficulties that a first-time director faces when doing their first film.
Στην ουσία πολλά πράγματα τα μάθαινα ενώ έπρεπε να τα κάνω, δηλαδή τεχνικά.
I learned a lot of things by experience
during the making of the documentary.
Yes.
Και ένα πάρα πολύ μεγάλο πρόβλημα, μια δυσκολία που συνάντησα ήταν να μπορέσω να κάνω ένα ντοκιμαντέρ μέσα στην αθωνική πολιτεία, όπου οι κανόνες είναι λίγο σφιχτοί, είναι δύσκολοι οι κανόνες, είναι λίγο δύσκολο να σε δεχτούν, να σε εμπιστευτούν, αν δεν είσαι κάποιος που είναι γνωστός σκηνοθέτης, και γενικά είναι λίγο δύσκολο να εκτεθούν στην κάμερα οι μοναχοί, γιατί είναι έξω από τη φιλοσοφία τη δικιά τους.
My biggest problem, the biggest problem I encountered was being able to do this film within the strict laws and circumstances that exist in Mount Athos. And the difficulty I had was to find an ease of communication with the people there and earn their trust in a way and kind of feel that I was part of their community to be able to.
Yeah, very valid points. Thank you. Thank you. Ωραία. We'll go backwards this time. Michali.
Yeah. In terms of challenges, well, there were many. I'll be trying to be very short, but it's good to be honest about these things. I think the biggest challenge, the most important challenge that we had to overcome was how do we tell a story that can connect with an audience, but not take advantage of that person from whom we took inspiration from, because that the real life character, she must be like 90 years old now. You know, she's not very. You cannot really communicate very well with her and so on. So it's we didn't want to make a real life story. We wanted to make something that is just inspired from something, so that we can also be ethically correct. So you know, there were a lot of internal discussions that we had to do and a lot of iterations. So that was one thing. Then the second was, you know, the technical. Of course, when you're doing an animation, it's just so time consuming. And to find an artistic, an aesthetic approach that will add value to the story and not just be something that, you know, will look nice, but also something that complements the story and the story to complement the aesthetics. So it was a bit challenging, but then the biggest problem, I would say, was that in Cyprus, there's hardly any funding to make films. And even though our film did receive 32,000 euros from the government, the actual cost of the film was 75,000 euros. So when you're paying so much money out of your own pocket, let's say from the studio's finances, which is like the same thing, you know, at some point you're saying, okay, I'm making an investment because I want my team to get better and everything, the artists to become better, but you know, it's a lot of money, you know. So how do you balance the financial aspect with these learning and development and the you know, where do you draw the line as to how complex and how advanced you're gonna make this film? And it was a bit of a challenge. You know, we had some internal struggles and discussions, tears, and etc. But after 2 years of working, you know, on this film, it was totally worth it. You know, that was a big, because it was the first time that I was doing it as a director and as a producer. It was a big learning experience to balance all of these things.
No, that's very well said. And I'm loving how we have, you know, we have an animation, we have a documentary on Mount Athos, we have a narrative. Like it's a very diverse viewpoints here on these questions. Thank you, Michali. Sonia?
I think by far the biggest challenge was the amount of the waiting time. So the amount of time we had to either invest or be patient about from the moment we finished a good draft, which we could present to producers, until the time we actually started pre-production. So that was for me the hardest part, and I cannot compare it with any other difficulty. And
is that because of COVID, Sonia? Was that because of COVID?
Nothing to do with COVID, because we completed the film just at the beginning of the first lockdown. So I mean, getting the film out to festivals and cinemas has been a challenge since COVID, but into making the film was the time between completing a draft and actually start materializing it. So that was way before COVID. And the hardest part of that is that from the moment we started writing the story and developing it with my co-writer, until the time we actually started rehearsing and location scouting and talking with the director of photography and the production designer and so on, there was so much time in between that I think I changed my mind about a lot of things. So initially the style and the aesthetics of the film was quite different than it actually is on the film.
Oh, interesting.
Because I had so much time to think about it. It's not particularly bad, because I think I did develop and I was more mature when we actually filmed the film than a few months after finalizing the script. But anyhow, that's by far the most difficult thing, because you kind of develop so much. Yesterday I met with the protagonist, with Dimitris, and we had a long talk. And we even said together that when we first started talking about the film until actually shooting the film, we had so many different views on the character and the situations, and so many things evolved. So the good part is that I think it's richer, but the hard part is that you have to keep your enthusiasm alive and you know, all the time. So anyway, and of course funding is the biggest challenge, as Michali said. It's beyond belief trying to raise all the funds during the crisis in Greece. The other challenge for me was the leap from a short film to a feature film. And it's like, there's no comparison. There's nothing in the world that can prepare you for this.
No, so let's actually talk about that, because my next question actually was to talk about firsts, and you have all kind of touched on this already. But Sonia, obviously you have made short films before and you leaped to a feature. Michali and Argyris, you're first-time filmmakers, so you've launched into filmmaking. So, and again, you've touched a little bit on this, but let's dive in a little bit again of just being about your particular first. So Sonia, since you started, talk about that jump for you from going to shorts to a feature film.
Yeah, well, the simplest way to describe it is that just everything is much more complicated and bigger on every field. And like, for example, the amount of characters in the film, the trying to keep.
You can say it in Greek if you want.
No, I'm good. It's just
Okay.
it's comprehended I mean, I'm thinking about it. So anyway, the difficulty of keeping the core idea and the essence of every scene alive while shooting every scene or every bit of a scene. So it's like how to have in your mind always all the aesthetic choices which we have made throughout the film, and not to get confused, in a sense that it's very easy to shoot a scene and forget the role this scene plays on the whole film. So then end up in the editing thinking, oh, this doesn't fit, and it's just completely different from the previous scene, and it has nothing to do with the scene after. So that was something that I had to learn from scratch. There's no comparison between
Of course, yeah.
If I may interject here with Sonia, in the past we also had the opportunity to review her movie Nicoletta, which also happened to win the Astron Award a few years back. Her short film.
Short film.
So just want to, we haven't forgotten.
Thank you.
Very nice. Yeah. Argyris?
Ναι, ποιες ήταν οι δυσκολίες που αντιμετώπισα στο πρώτο φιλμ?
Δυσκολίες
as a first, το μίλησες, αλλά a little bit about being first in the...
Έχω αρκετά να πω γι' αυτό, θα τα πω πολύ περιληπτικά. Είναι πραγματικά πολύ εντυπωσιακό να θέλεις ξαφνικά, ενώ δεν ασχολείσαι με αυτό, να κάνεις μια ταινία μόνος σου. Να μην έχεις κανέναν γνωστό.
It's impressive out of nowhere to get that intense urge to do a film.
Να μην έχεις κανένα γνωστό που μπορεί να σε βοηθήσει σε κάτι.
To have nobody to rely on or
ούτε στη
help
μουσική, ούτε με την κάμερα, ούτε με τον drone, ούτε με τίποτα.
Whether it's about filming, using the drone or the music, I had no grounded infrastructure to do this film.
Αυτό λοιπόν είναι μια πολύ μεγάλη εμπειρία, ήταν μια πολύ μεγάλη εμπειρία για μένα που μου έδωσε πάρα πολύ δυνατά συναισθήματα.
It was a huge experience for me that created intense feelings about the subject matter.
Έπρεπε να κανονίσω από τα ραντεβού, να κανονίσω τα τεχνικά ζητήματα, έπρεπε να φτιάξω ένα ενδιαφέρον φιλμ, ενώ δεν είχα τεχνικές γνώσεις σκηνοθέτη, ούτε καν τεχνικές γνώσεις ιδιαίτερες με τις κάμερες, τις φωτογραφίες κτλ. Έπρεπε λοιπόν να φτιάξω μόνος μου ένα φιλμ που να είναι ενδιαφέρον. Και αυτό ήταν μια πάρα πολύ...
I had to start from scratch, creating the foundation, the groundwork for this film, having absolutely no experience.
Και επίσης, παίρνοντας αφορμή από αυτό που είπαν ο Μιχάλης και η Σόνια προηγουμένως, έπρεπε να φτιάξω και μια ταινία η οποία να έχει κόστος όσο το δυνατόν πιο κοντά στο μηδέν. Γιατί δεν είχα βέβαια από πουθενά χρηματοδότηση.
Like Sonia mentioned earlier, I had to cater my film to a certain budget.
Λοιπόν, αυτό με έφερε στο εξής, στην εξής ωραία εμπειρία. Να ζητήσω βοήθεια από πολλούς ανθρώπους και να δω σαν ένα θαύμα να γίνεται και να βρίσκονται άνθρωποι από το πουθενά οι οποίοι ήρθαν για να με βοηθήσουν.
I went to several individuals asking for financial support, and as if a miracle happened, I start getting funding from all different types of sources.
Ναι, δεν βρήκα χρήματα βέβαια, αλλά βρήκα ανθρώπους που με βοήθησαν εθελοντικά. Δηλαδή βρήκα άνθρωπο που ήρθε με drone. Αυτό δεν είναι κάτι πολύ απλό. Σκεφτείτε ότι ένας άνθρωπος που ζύγιζε 120 κιλά ήρθε και ανεβήκαμε μαζί στα 2.000 μέτρα. Είναι φοβερό αν το καλοσκεφτεί
I
κανείς.
got a lot of volunteer people who help with their technical abilities. For example, the guy who helping with the drone, being a very small size kind of guy, carrying the drone up this high peak mountain.
Και επίσης, χωρίς να έχω κανένα γνωστό, βρέθηκαν άνθρωποι γνωστοί γνωστών που κάθισαν και έγραψαν μουσική μέσα σε 20 μέρες, χωρίς καθόλου χρήματα, ή στο τέλος για να προλάβω την προθεσμία του φεστιβάλ Θεσσαλονίκης που θέλω να υποβάλω συμμετοχή.
Friends of friends got involved and helped me with the music last minute, creating the music so that I can meet the deadlines for this film.
Και άνθρωποι που με βοήθησαν στη μετάφραση των υποτίτλων και πολλά άλλα ακόμα. Και γενικά, για να κλείσω, αυτή η δημιουργία αυτού του φιλμ ήταν για μένα μια πολύ συγκλονιστική εμπειρία, που ξέφυγε από το πόσο πολύ αγαπάω το Άγιο Όρος και πραγματικά με γέμισε συναισθήματα για το ότι αν κάποιος άνθρωπος αγαπάει και θέλει να κάνει κάτι, τότε σίγουρα μπορεί να το πετύχει.
To me, it was a monumental experience in a sense that the combination and the volunteer work that I received during this film shifted my interest from the subject matter to realizing that if you're passionate about something and you really want to achieve it, that you will find ways to do it.
Wonderful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Argyris. Michali, your firsts. Tell us about your firsts.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing this professionally for 12 years. So it's not the first time that I've worked on a film. I've edited films that were short films, feature films. I was a DP for a feature documentary. You know, at the studio we've done thousands of client projects, but this is like the first time where I did something which was like a personal, let's say, film. Like my first, that it was for like the big screen, let's say for you know, for the festival audience. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, I was trying to approach it just like I would approach all the other stuff that I did in the past. And during, you know, the whole process took 2 years, as I said before. And during the first year, I was approaching it as just like a project, you know. And then halfway through, I said, you know, just take a step back. This is not just a project, which it wasn't from the beginning, because we wanted to do it for the creative and to tell a story, but the production management aspect of it, you know, in the beginning we try to treat it more strict as you would with a client project, I just had to take a step back and say, okay, we've done these things, now we're going to change them, you know, forget about the budget, you know, you just need to do what you have to do so that it's going to be the best outcome that's, you know, possible, that's going to come out of it. So I don't know, it might not sound as something important to someone who's not in the industry, but yeah, I mean, for me it was a big learning experience. And definitely, you know, now that I've started working on the next film, there are a lot of things that I learned from this process.
Yeah. No, that's great. It is important, and thank you to all of you for answering that so honestly. We have actually a question from the audience that I want to throw in, and then I'll go to my final question before we kind of take a different turn. Tell us how you came up with the title of your film. I mean, it's a little self-explanatory, but I think that there is a lot of thought that goes into the title of a film. So tell us a little bit about that. Argyris, you're nodding your head.
Ας πω εγώ λοιπόν. Ενώ προσπάθησα να κάνω ένα ντοκιμαντέρ που να αφορά όλους, να απευθύνεται σε ανθρώπους που πιστεύουν και σε ανθρώπους που δεν πιστεύουν, σε ανθρώπους που αγαπούν το Άγιο Όρος και σε ανθρώπους που είναι αδιάφοροι.
Katerina, sorry, go ahead.
Ήθελα να το μεταφράσουμε, δεν ξέρω.
Although my intention was to create a film that would relate to believers and non-believers, people who are indifferent to religion. So I wanted to create a film that would reach a general audience.
Παρ' όλα αυτά ήθελα μέσα στο φιλμ να βάλω κάτι από τη μεγάλη μου αγάπη για το Άγιο Όρος. Και αυτό
I
που
wanted
έβαλα...
this film to include part of my passion for the Holy Mountain.
Και αυτό που έβαλα ήταν τα 2 τελευταία λεπτά τα οποία αντιπροσωπεύουν τη δική μου άποψη και αυτό που νιώθω εγώ για το Άγιο Όρος και ο τίτλος. Τα 2 τελευταία λεπτά εξηγούν τον τίτλο, ο οποίος αντιπροσωπεύει αυτό που πιστεύω εγώ ότι είναι το Άγιο Όρος, τουλάχιστον για μας τους χριστιανούς.
In the last 2 minutes of my documentary, I included my personal views on the Holy Mountain, and I think that in itself explains the choice of my title.
Σίγουρα βέβαια είναι μια υπερβολή ο τίτλος. Δεν είναι ο Athos η πιο φωτεινή κορυφή του κόσμου. Όλες οι κορυφές του κόσμου είναι το ίδιο φωτεινές από άποψη φωτός, ας πούμε, αλλά νομίζω ότι είναι ένα μέρος πραγματικά που έχει μια πάρα πολύ μεγάλη ακτινοβολία και αν θέλει κανείς να το προσεγγίσει θα βρει πάρα πολύ ενδιαφέροντα πράγματα στη φιλοσοφία του και στον τρόπο που λειτουργεί, ακόμα και αν δεν είναι χριστιανός, αν δεν είναι πιστός.
Yeah. So my choice of the brightest peak in the world could be, in a sense, exaggerated because there is other peaks that are equally bright. But my choice of that explanation was to refer to the brightness that that place brings to you.
The philosophy.
The philosophy.
And all the feeling somebody has when he goes there.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
The intensity.
Yeah. Sonia?
Well, for us, our title is quite simple, I think, because it's his profession, clearly. And we wanted a very, very simple title because we've done that with my shorts as well. So we like the idea of one word. Okay. And because we were very much inspired by black and white films, where very oftenly the title was quite simple and just really saying what it is about, like The General, for example. So by Buster Keaton. So that's why we went with a very, very clear and simple title.
Got it. Great. Mihaly.
Yeah, I mean, the title is very, it's very self-explanatory. I mean, it's about a woman who chose to live with her parrots on the streets. So it's just very representative. And this real life person that you would see here in Larnaca, you would actually say, oh, here's the lady with the parrots, hardly anyone knows her name. And it's funny, like when the film came out, a lot of people from other cities in Cyprus, when they listened the title of the film for the first time, they said, oh, there is actually someone in Larnaca that is...
You're like, yes, actually.
Yeah.
Good.
one of the things I wanted to talk about, if that's okay, is the approach of the narrative, because when we first and maybe some of the people, I'm curious. This is one of the few Q&As that we do because of the festival round. When we started thinking about making this film, when I sat down with the writer, Georgia, we said, let's not write this like a normal, like your normal film script. Instead, we wrote it as if it was a poem, or actually like a monologue that you would do for a theater. That was like that was my directive, σκηνοθετική προσέγγιση, like the director's approach that I gave to the writer. In the beginning, there was a lot of pushback from the ministry, to whom we submitted the application for the funding, and they said it's too lyrical, but the visuals look nice, so we'll approve it and we'll see what's going to come out. So we were lucky that they trusted us with this thing, but it was also a struggle for us, and we had to change it a little bit and minimize it and everything. But I'm curious how it was perceived also from the audience, because some people say that, okay, maybe if there was less narrative, it would have been better, or some people said, I actually like that narrative the way it was. And some people in Cyprus said, oh, there's a part where it switches to the Cypriot dialect when the Parrot lady actually speaks. Some locals here didn't like it, but it is what it is. This is how we speak on the island. And there were all these let's say conflicts, and I would actually be curious to see what you guys thought about this, about the narrative approach as well.
You're asking the panel? You're asking us? You're asking Sonia or Argyris? Or
I would be interested to know if you thought that the film could also do with less or more narrative voiceovers.
Well, it won your film.
I thought there was a balance.
Yeah, I thought it was, yeah. I mean, Katerina,
I felt it was balanced. I wouldn't have changed anything to it in the narrative part.
Okay.
Yeah. Cleon, do you want to chime in?
I respect movies as they're presented. I think that sometimes you think that the movie has something different, but when you talk to the director, then you find out what was the inside, and that helps a lot when you put that information on Film Freeway and you tell us why you did that, or what was your inspiration, or what was the reasoning you did. That helps after we see the movie why you did it that way. And I respect that, and I keep it at that.
Mm-hmm. I personally liked the narrative the way you did it.
Yeah.
For me personally, as a viewer, I liked the poetic kind of flow to it, or how you call it. It's very different. It kind of caught my attention for because it's a short film, right? And to me, it was something different. And I liked it.
It blended very well with the story.
Yeah. So
how it unfolded, I think I found it very balanced.
Yeah, and for Argyris, one thing from the emails I received from many people and different things, there was a lot of information from a documentary from ladies that they had the opportunity to see something that they don't have the opportunity to see it physically or visit it, and that give them an insight, even though they're maybe extremely religious, they never have the opportunity to go and visit Mount Athos, and you give them the insights and the feelings of how those people feel up there, having that experience, it was probably the common denominator that at least the emails I received. So that, that's...
Αυτός ήταν και ο στόχος μου άλλωστε, να μπορέσω να παρουσιάσω το Άγιο Όρος έτσι όπως πραγματικά είναι, χωρίς ούτε να το ρεοποιώ, ούτε να το παρουσιάσω ρεαλιστικά, ώστε να μπορούν να το δουν και άνθρωποι που είτε επειδή είναι σε απόσταση, είτε επειδή είναι γυναίκες, δεν έχουν την ευκαιρία να πάνε εκεί.
That was exactly my intention in this film, to make it accessible to the people that can never go there, and kind of make them feel that they can go there and experience this place.
Ήθελα να τους δώσω την ευκαιρία όχι να δουν τα μοναστήρια, να ακούσουν για την ιστορία, αλλά να νιώσουν σαν ένας προσκυνητής που ανεβαίνει στο μονοπάτι, συναντά ένα μοναχό και μιλάει μαζί του σε ένα προσωπικό επίπεδο.
I did not want to emphasize the historic part or so much the visual part of the place, but rather the experience of the place, and give them the feeling that they are part of that experience.
Αυτά θα ήθελα να πω τώρα. Είναι τόσο πραγματικά σημαντικό το Άγιο Όρος που θα μπορούσε να πει κανείς πολλά πράγματα, αλλά νομίζω ότι δεν θα ήταν σκόπιμο να κουράσω το πάνελ. Είναι πραγματικά πάρα πολλά τα πράγματα που μπορεί να νιώσει κάποιος το Άγιο Όρος. Όχι μόνο θέματα πίστης, σου κάνει εντύπωση, είναι κάτι πολύ διαφορετικό. Είναι κάτι το οποίο δεν είναι πολύ διαφορετικό από την καθημερινή σου ζωή. Όχι μόνο ο τρόπος ζωής, η καθημερινότητα, αλλά και η φιλοσοφία της ζωής των ανθρώπων.
I don't want to fatigue the discussion here, because there is endless possibilities with the Holy Mountain that one can touch on. But for me, it's very important to emphasize the experience, which remind me, Argyris, can be on different levels, the spiritual element.
Και στο θέμα της πίστης, και στο θέμα της καθημερινότητας.
The daily routine, the spirituality, the belief.
Αλλά κυρίως και η φιλοσοφία της ζωής.
But also the philosophy about life.
Η αντιμετώπιση του θανάτου.
How death is viewed.
Η αντιμετώπιση του εγωισμού που έχουμε μέσα μας. Το πώς ο μοναχός προσπαθεί όχι να αποδείξει κάτι στον άλλον, αλλά η φιλοσοφία της ζωής του είναι να είναι ταπεινός. Είναι κάτι,
the humbleness that we can all benefit from, how to face our own inner selfishness, how to defy that and to become humble.
Για παράδειγμα, η ταπείνωση είναι κάτι που εμείς στη δική μας κοινωνία είναι κάτι που δεν το επιδιώκουμε.
Humbleness is something that we as societies don't focus on.
Ενώ για την κοινωνία των μοναχών είναι η μεγαλύτερη αρετή.
Where in the society of the monks, it is the highest value that you can achieve, to be humble.
That's beautiful.
There is a lesson to be learned, for all
sure.
of us.
For sure, yeah. Sonia, I just want to ask, did you want to contribute anything in this conversation? I have one more question and then we're going to switch directions, but I wanted to give you the opportunity just in case you wanted to add anything here. Or
not for now.
No, you're good. Okay, great.
I just wanted to say thank you. You have a very big fan of the festival, Mary Adamson, and she's writing wonderful things about
it. Yes.
So I wanted
να την ευχαριστήσουμε πάρα πολύ για τα καλά της λόγια, την κυρία Άνταμσον.
Thank you very much, Ms. Anderson, for all your good words and thoughts.
Very nice. So tell us a little bit about kind of the ambition of your film from here. Where do you see, like, what is your hope with your particular film going forward? What's your ambition with it?
Sonia?
Sure. Sonia.
Okay. So, well, it's been a distant pleasure to follow the film in various festivals, but not just because it's entering festivals, but mostly because I've had the chance through Q&As via Zoom to hear people's reactions from completely different parts of the world, like from Korea, for example, or when we had our premiere in Tallinn, and Estonians are completely different culture than the Greek one. So it's very interesting to me and very rich experience to have an understanding of how people from entirely different societies and who have lived completely different experiences think about the film. Now, from here and on, we've been very lucky and happy that the film has been sold in different countries for cinematic distribution. So when COVID allows us, I'll be very happy to go to places like, for example, Japan, where it's actually going to be in cinemas, and in Germany, Belgium, Austria, and other countries. So I'm looking forward to that, to be able to actually attend the premieres, the cinematic premieres.
Very nice.
Great, very nice. Yes, we all want that. Wonderful. And Yiri or Michali, what is your ambition with your films? With your film, what is your ambition?
Αν είσαι έτοιμος, Μιχάλη. Αλλιώς μπορώ εγώ.
Yeah, well, right now the festival tour started in early 2020, and it's it takes 2 years where you have to wait for the film to finish all the festival tour, and then decide what you're going to do with the distribution, if it's going to go public or anything. What I really look forward to is that this summer, because here in Cyprus we only had one screening so far of the film, but there are several screenings planned out for this summer as part of different short film nights. And at the end of the day, when you're making a film, you want your film to have an impact and to ignite a conversation, to intrigue people of thinking about the subject matter that your film is dealing with, and have these not necessarily conversations, but some sort of an impact. And I'm really looking forward to having also these physical screenings here on the island. The film did, had a better than expected festival tour. It actually traveled quite a lot. And now in the summer, we're gonna have 4 or 5 screenings coming up here in Cyprus, physical screenings. And then probably in February 2022, is going to also be available like freely online. So we do have another 7 or 8 months until it's completely out there.
And that's good to know too, because that is another question that we actually get often from our viewers, and we got it again this year, is how can, and maybe we can just recap this at the end, but how can people watch your film again, if that's even possible, in the future? So
in the US, for the Parrot Lady in the US, I'm not sure if I can announce this now, but it's going to be part of one more Oscar accredited festival in the US.
Okay.
I think they haven't announced the program yet, so I shouldn't be saying we're going to that festival. But I think it's going to be online, available again if someone hasn't been able to see it, but they're for some reason with us on this panel discussion. And then if they follow our, obviously I guess with the other 2 panelists here, if you follow the dedicated Facebook page of the film, the website of the film, once it's going to be available online, then that information.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that and let people know where they could do it. Yeah, online. Yeah.
Argyris?
Θα ήθελα να μου πείτε λίγο τη συμπληρωματική ερώτηση, επειδή δεν την πιάσα στα αγγλικά. Υπήρξε μια δεύτερη ερώτηση τώρα από την Μαρία.
Ναι, η ερώτηση ήταν τι φιλοδοξείς για την ταινία.
Η αρχική ναι, αλλά νομίζω έγινε και μια δεύτερη ερώτηση ή όχι.
Αν θα είναι available η ταινία online.
Αν είναι διαθέσιμη online.
Είναι ότι δει το κοινό στο μέλλον.
Ναι, ωραία. Η πρώτη μου φιλοδοξία για την ταινία ήταν να τη δω σε μεγάλη οθόνη και να παρουσιάσω το Άγιο Όρος.
My initial ambition about the film was to see the film on a big screen.
Το παρουσίασα πραγματικά, αλλά ακόμα δεν το είδα σε μεγάλη οθόνη λόγω του COVID.
But I personally have not seen it in the large screen of the movie theaters because of COVID.
Γιατί στην Θεσσαλονίκη που έκανε πρεμιέρα, το φεστιβάλ έγινε online. Τώρα ελπίζω, επειδή έχω υποβάλει συμμετοχή σε κάποια φεστιβάλ που γίνονται σε νησιά εδώ το καλοκαίρι, ότι ίσως υπάρξει μια ευκαιρία να το δω σε μεγάλη οθόνη.
I am participating in some festivals that will be held around the Greek islands, so I hope in the summer I'll have the opportunity to see it in the big screen.
Μια άλλη μου επιδίωξη, φιλοδοξία είναι να το δω σε μερικά ακόμη φεστιβάλ στον κόσμο και μάλιστα θα ήθελα να το δω και σε κάποια φεστιβάλ τα οποία δεν έχουν σχέση με ελληνικό στοιχείο. Δηλαδή, βέβαια αυτό καταλαβαίνω ότι είναι κάτι δύσκολο, αλλά θα ήθελα να το δω και σε ένα φεστιβάλ που δεν σχετίζεται ούτε με τον απόδημο ελληνισμό, ούτε είναι στην Ελλάδα.
My initial ambition is to see it play in different festivals outside Greece, but I would also like to see it played in festivals that do not relate to any Greek part of the movie scene.
Επίσης, θα ήθελα να το δω να παίζεται σε κάποιες τηλεοράσεις και τα λοιπά. Και στην Ελλάδα έδειξε ενδιαφέρον μια εταιρεία διανομής που το ανέλαβε και προβάλλεται.
There has been an interest
διατέθηκε σε κανάλια.
And it might travel through the Greek TV and be
και στην
shown
Κύπρο. Στην Ελλάδα και στην Κύπρο. Οπότε ελπίζω ότι θα έχω την ευκαιρία να το δω σε κάποιο κανάλι και ελπίζω κάτι τέτοιο να συμβεί και εκτός Ελλάδας και Κύπρου.
So I expect the documentary to also be filmed in TV in Greece and Cyprus. Ωραία, Αργύρη, ευχαριστούμε.
Κάτι τελευταίο μόνο, γενικά θα ήθελα το μήνυμα, το ωραίο μήνυμα του Αγίου Όρους να φτάσει όσο πιο μακριά γίνεται. Και μέσα από τη δικιά μου ταινία.
The message of the Holy Mountain to reach as far as it can possibly reach in the world. Ευχαριστούμε, Αργύρη. Thanks, Αργύρη.
Και εγώ ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ και για τη μετάφραση, Κατερίνα.
I think we're moving on to our next subject, which kind of takes away from the personal element of your film. So I would like for you to comment, what are your thoughts on the current film landscape in Greece and Cyprus? If you can summarize it a little bit for us. Sonia, would you like to go first?
You mean also regarding COVID?
No. I mean, I'm sure COVID might have impacted it, but the current film landscape, το κινηματογραφικό τοπίο, Αργύρη.
Κατάλαβα, ναι.
Ναι. So, Sonia?
Well, there is a very optimistic view of what's happening in Greece. I don't know so much about Cyprus, but I'm sure Michalis will tell us everything. That a lot of very young directors have the opportunity to make a feature film. And from what I remember in the past decades, that was very, very rare. So it's probably the first time in Greece when really young directors and writers get proper funding from the national broadcaster, ERT, as well as the Greek Film Center. So that is very optimistic. From another point of view, the funding in general, I mean, the amounts of funding we receive from the government is generally very, very little. So even if we get a chance to do a co-production, with other countries, still the total budget we could ever raise is very limited. So I think that's a very big pity, especially since films the past 10 years are traveling, Greek films are traveling around the world. Mm-hmm. So as films is part of civilization and culture, I think it is worth of really pushing for filmmaking in Greece and raising the funds for that.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. Argyris, you want to go next since you're also based in Greece, so we cover that landscape and then leave Mike for the Cypriot part of the landscape?
Με κάλυψε σε μεγάλο βαθμό η Sonia.
Sonia covered a lot of the items.
Το μόνο που θα ήθελα να πω είναι ότι όσο θα υπάρχουν άνθρωποι που θα αγαπούν κάτι και θα προσπαθούν γι' αυτό, πάντα θα υπάρχουν περιθώρια να πετύχουμε κάτι περισσότερο.
I believe that if you're very passionate about something, you will find ways to put it together.
Πολλές φορές στην Ελλάδα αυτό είναι λίγο δύσκολο. Στην Ελλάδα πολλά πράγματα είναι δύσκολα, αλλά εμείς καταφέρνουμε πολλά πράγματα.
As many things are difficult in Greece, but we still manage to make it.
Και από ό,τι βλέπω, χωρίς να έχω και πάρα πολύ μεγάλη επαφή με το χώρο, βλέπω ότι πολλές ταινίες έχουν διακρίσεις σε φεστιβάλ του εξωτερικού κτλ. Και αυτό είναι πάρα πολύ καλό.
And although I'm not very involved so much in the film industry in Greece, I've come to realize that films do make it.
Οπότε θέλω να βλέπουμε τα πράγματα αισιόδοξα.
I want to be optimistic.
Και εύχομαι σε όλους να μπορούν να κάνουν το ονειρό τους πραγματικότητα.
And I wish to all the producers and directors to make their dreams come true.
Πραγματικά πολλοί νέοι άνθρωποι ασχολούνται στην Ελλάδα. Με αυτό το δαπανηρό βέβαια.
As indeed a lot of young filmmakers are coming out in Greece. Thanks, Argyris. Michali, how are things in Cyprus?
Well, let's first of all, let's say that not just in Cyprus or in Greece, but in Europe, the whole filmmaking model is completely different from the US. Usually in the United States, the people that make films, they're professionals. Films have sponsors, investors, and they're usually geared for commercial distribution most of the time. Yeah. In Europe, the industry is also supported a lot by national funds or regional funds, and we have to apply to these governmental or regional institutions for some funding in order to be able to, to make a film. Initially, this sounds like a good thing, but other than a few countries in Europe, like France or Germany, where they have a big industry, countries like Cyprus and Greece, we rely on funding just to cover actually part of our expenses. So that's a big problem, because if you want to do a pure, let's say, Greek or Cypriot film, then usually there's not enough money to just even break even. So you have to self-finance it. So at the end of the day, you're not a professional, you're more like a hobbyist a lot of the time. So you have to do other stuff, you have to do commercial projects, corporate work, etc., so that you can then finance this artistic element of it. And that's very problematic. Then one of the solutions to this is what Sonia mentioned, like the co-production. So nowadays we have to try and create these opportunities and these synergies with other professionals in other countries, so that we can pull together funds from different national funds in order to be able to make films. Now, one of the things that you will always hear if you're a professional and you're asking for, looking for co-productions, is that first you need to have support from your own country to then go and seek co-productions from other countries. And in Cyprus and Greece, that's a very problematic situation because in Cyprus, for example, the fund opened and the deadline was actually this past week. And the previous time when they opened, the calls was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Greece was also in a terrible situation because of the economic crisis for many years. To give you understanding, for animation at least, the maximum you can get for a short film in Cyprus right now is 40,000 euros.
40, 40?
40, yes.
40,000.
Yes. It's
For
nothing.
you said animation. For animation or just a short?
For short animated films is
for a short animated film.
For a feature, I think is something like 300,000. This is nothing.
Sonia, what is it in Greece?
The same.
It's the same thing in Greece?
The same, it's like including ERT plus the Greek Film Center. So these two combined would be 300,000.
Yeah, but for short films is actually
quite well. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, co-productions is one way. For our next film, where the budget is much higher, with Cyprus, with the budget that we have submitted, which is a budget of 190,000, Cyprus could only cover 20%. We do have a co-producer from Greece. The maximum that they can get is 20,000. So that's even worse. So we have to go and find 2 or 3 other co-producers from other countries in order to complete the budget. And not only that, the budget that we did submit, the 190, is actually not the real budget. It's a bit lower than what the real budget is because we didn't want to scare them because they're not used to to looking at all these like real life costs that you have to incur to make these films. So it's a very problematic situation, and this is something that I personally had a lot of discussions with people from the ministry and the Directors Guild and everything, because if you want, there's a lot of talk from politicians, both in Cyprus and in Greece, that we want to use filmmaking as a way to attract investments in both of our countries. And at the same time, though, you have to support the local industry. If there's not an ongoing production so that people can have a sustainable career, and they have to do a million other things and raise money to put them in a film, this is not sustainable. So if you want to attract investments, first you have to build your own industry. People need to mature, develop their skills, their knowledge, so that when these foreign investments come, they're also going to be able to find local talent to work on the films. Infrastructure.
It seems like the most fundamental challenge here is financing the film. Would you say there is any other challenges to doing the film? For example, marketing the film, or finding the right actors or actresses, or what would you put? I see financing as the number 1 challenge here. Would you say, what's number 2 and 3?
Sonia, I think this maybe, I can answer this very short on our end.
Okay, go ahead. So we conclude. With Cyprus.
For animation, not just for Cyprus,
yes.
For animation, for both Greece and Cyprus, one of the main challenges that we have is the pool of talent that we have to work with. Even if you wanted to hire a lot of people to work at your studio or to work on your film, there's just not enough people. There's not enough talent. And this talent is actually on demand. So, and animation is on the rise all across Europe, in the States, especially now with COVID. So being extroverted and trying to create synergies with other countries is a must. You have to do it both for financing purposes, but also in order to be able to put together the right team of people in order to actually create a professional quality outcome.
Sonia? Thanks, Eric. Mike.
Yeah, I think number 2 is what you mentioned, marketing, because it's really almost non-existing when it comes to Greek films, not even within Greece, or almost that never happens outside Greece. And that's a huge thing, because a film can never survive or just escape the minority of, I don't know, 100 viewers, unless it's being marketed as other films are. And then the third thing for me would be audience, because in Greece, although we make quite a lot of films per year, very, very few films manage to actually get cinematic distribution, even in Greece. And when they do, it would be for like 1 or 2 weeks maximum, and in a very, very limited cinemas, very few cinemas. And I think, again, that the Ministry of Culture should help for that, to that. And
Sonia, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is that the case because there's little cliques that work behind this, or what is the reason that there is such a short cinematic exposure?
Yeah, well, I think it's partially because distributors don't get any funding support from Ministry of Culture in order to give them a motivation to screen more Greek films. That is one thing. And the other thing is that perhaps because the Greek audience is not exposed to enough Greek films, when a Greek film finally makes it to the cinemas, they don't seem to trust it very much. And I'm saying that, yeah, because I think the audience in Greece is fantastic, because they do watch the blockbusters, but also world cinema from any weird country of the world. So there is a strong audience who are interested in less blockbuster type of films. So for me, these are the 2 reasons. Okay. And I don't know if I'm wrong, if I'm correct or wrong.
Yeah. Argyris, do you have something to add to all this?
Δεν έχω κάτι να προσθέσω. Νομίζω ότι οι 2 φίλοι έχουν μια πιο εμπεριστατωμένη άποψη. Εγώ είμαι πολύ καινούριο στο χώρο για να έχω έτσι...
I think my other 2 colleagues are more experts in this, more so than me.
Εγώ νομίζω ότι στην Ελλάδα βέβαια το οικονομικό είναι ένα μεγάλο πρόβλημα.
I believe the financial part is a big problem in creating a movie in Greece.
Και αυτό πολλές φορές, όχι πολλές φορές, συζητώντας με μερικούς ανθρώπους, μου είπαν ότι κάνουν ντοκιμαντέρ, ενώ θα ήθελα να κάνουν μυθοπλασία, γιατί δεν μπορούν να φτιάξουν μια ταινία μυθοπλασίας λόγω των μεγάλων εξόδων. Και η διέξοδος τους είναι να κάνουν ένα ντοκιμαντέρ που να μοιάζει λίγο με μυθοπλασία.
Several people in the field that I communicate with give me the feedback that they resolve to doing a documentary as rather than fiction, because fiction costs so much more money and it's so much more elaborate. So they have to compromise.
Και τα προβλήματα με τη διανομή, με τους σινεμάδες, με το σινεμά, με αυτά υπάρχουν στην Ελλάδα, δηλαδή είναι έτσι όπως τα λέει η Σόνια. Δεν έχω κάτι παραπάνω να πω.
Okay, thanks, Argyris.
If I have the opportunity, Katerina, I'd like to say a couple of things here. First of all, I know we've talked a lot of different things and negative things and challenges and stuff like that. Sometimes we say that the glass is half empty or whatever. I say the glass is half full because there's a positive side to it. And I want to say that through the last few years, the movies that are coming out of Greece and Cyprus, they're phenomenal what we see by coming by young directors like you. And we're very proud and honored to be able to show your movies, promote them, and in a way try to push them somehow in the mainstream. And you guys, all of you, should be extremely proud of your work you do in the most difficult circumstances that could ever be, both financially, for COVID, for all those reasons. I mean, you guys, we really would tip our hats to you, because the movies you make, believe me, they're not missing anything from other movies that we see that coming out of big production movies. And I don't mean that to, this is really true. Any one of the movies we've seen, you guys you do a tremendous work. And I always say, how do you guys manage that? I mean, you guys pull miracles that you do those things. And we're very, very proud of, we as a film festival are very proud to be able to share some of your baby that you have, to be able to share it and show it around the world. And on that, if you, not since technically you're all of you experts in filmmaking, and I know Sonia is probably more expert, I would like to ask you if you had to give in a quick advice, other than the things we already covered, to new filmmakers coming up, and also what would you say, tell an advice to new filmmakers, and also what is your plans for your next movie? Do you have plans, or are you still trying to rest from the movie you did? And an insight, and I know it's a third little quick question, is tell us your favorite movie other than each other's movies. So go ahead, Sonia, if I may start with you, put you on the spot.
So what's your advice, Sonia?
Education. But what I mean by that is that, which is another problem in Greece, is that we don't have, and Michalis spoke on that, we don't have enough education. I mean, how can you learn more about cinema, not just as a director or writer, but on any other field, if there isn't a very well organized and strong film school in Greece? So for me, this is an issue. I think really the best way to learn about films and improve is just by watching films. I don't think there's anything else. And I know that when I was in despair, or at least in doubting about certain decisions and what I would like to do, or I would only just watch films. So that's the only advice I think I have. And then Cleon, yes, we had so much time of resting during all these quarantines. It's like a year and 2 months now. So Tracy and I completed our second feature film script, which is now
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's now taking place more in Germany, as I'm half German, so it's more of a German story this time. So hopefully when borders open and traveling is more possible, I will be able to go to Germany. And then a film I love. Well, a Greek film I adore, and generally a director I like very much, is Panos Koutras. And he's now I think one of these days completing his next feature film.
Yeah, very challenging director.
And definitely the shorts made by Konstantina.
Okay, Michali?
Argyris, do you want to take this first?
Argyris, go ahead.
Γιατί όχι. Λοιπόν, αυτό που θα έλεγα σε κάποιον, γιατί το έχω νιώσει κι εγώ, είναι ότι θα πρέπει να προσπαθεί να κάνει αυτά πράγματα που του αρέσουν και θα πρέπει να προσπαθεί να κάνει το όνειρό του πραγματικότητα στο βαθμό που θα του ανοίξουν δρόμοι.
My personal advice is to do what you're passionate about doing. And you will find ways to navigate yourself to make it happen.
Ναι, μπορεί να μην καταφέρει κάτι πολύ σπουδαίο, αλλά θα καταφέρει κάτι που θα του αρέσει και τελικά, όπως είπε και ο ποιητής, το ταξίδι είναι που μετράει και όχι η ηθάκη.
So what really matters is the journey to get to do what you're passionate about and not the destination.
Για τα σχέδιά μας, για τα μελλοντικά μας σχέδια, ήταν η δεύτερη ερώτηση. Εγώ παρότι δεν ασχολιόμουν σοβαρά, τώρα μου μπήκε και εμένα το μικρόβιο αυτό της δημιουργίας ντοκιμαντέρ.
I think I got the virus now about becoming more serious with filmmaking.
Ναι, έχω μερικές ωραίες ιδέες και προσπαθώ να βρω μερικούς ανθρώπους να γίνουμε μια ωραία ομαδούλα, γιατί η μοναξιά δεν είναι ωραίο πράγμα.
I have some good ideas and I'm trying to put an interesting team together because it's not nice to be on your own.
Ναι, και να βρούμε και ένα μικρό κεφάλαιο που πάντα χρειάζεται, δεν μπορείς να το αποφύγεις, για να κάνουμε ένα ωραίο επόμενο ντοκιμαντέρ, γιατί ένα ντοκιμαντέρ δεν κάνει, πρέπει να κάνεις ακόμη ένα.
I feel compelled to do one more documentary.
Και ποιο είναι το ενδιαφέρον σου έργο, Αργύρη?
Ναι, ας μιλήσω τώρα για ντοκιμαντέρ και εγώ θα πω ότι μ' αρέσει πολύ ο Αυγερόπουλος και τα ντοκιμαντέρ που φτιάχνει.
I'm very in favor of Avygeropoulos, who is a producer, I mean director. Και ελπίζω κι εγώ, άρχισα βέβαια λίγο αργά στα 50 μου, αλλά ελπίζω μέχρι τα 100 μου να μπορέσω να κάνω κάτι κοντά σε αυτό που έκανε αυτός. I am 50 years old and I hope in the next 50 years, Argyris hopes to live that long and we wish you live that long, to be able to put together some fresh work.
And Michali, the spot is on you now.
Yeah, in terms of a filmmaker, I really like the work of Yannis Ikonomidis, for sure. And I think you showed his latest film at your festival, right? His most recent one. He's actually from Cyprus, Yannis, but he lives in Greece for many years. I like how he finds all these stories from, not your mainstream, let's say, lifestyle, all these characters that he develops in his films. I really like his work. I just wanted to come back before I talk about my personal stuff and the new film. What Sonia said about educating people. In 2013, which was right at the middle of the financial crisis in Cyprus, my wife, myself, and two other friends, we got involved into a cinema society here in Larnaca. The Cinema Society, it's a non-profit, and it's been around for many years, since I think 1979. But for some years it was not working, and then for a few years, some other people were like really struggling to make people to come and watch films. Nobody was coming to watch these world cinema films. So what we did back in 2013 is we took the movies outside of the cinema, and we started organizing these events at galleries, open air screenings all over the town, on the beach, everywhere, at the museums. And we started creating these experiences so that we could attract people to come and watch films. So it was also an experience, not just a movie screening. And all of a sudden, everybody started saying, oh, actually these like Greek films and Cypriot films and world cinema films are actually really nice. So we started building an audience. So I think that the work that is being produced also from local filmmakers is, just like Steven said, equally good with all the filmmakers from all the other countries. It's just that we have to educate people and bring this to their attention. And now when we screen Cypriot or Greek films, in between films that might have won awards at Cannes, etc., you have more people coming to watch these local films rather than watching all these other films. So it's just a matter of being consistent and trying to build this audience and educate the public. And as Steven said, we have to always keep looking at the glass being half full instead of half empty, and but being consistent and trying to stay resilient is very important. Not give up. I'm sure in San Francisco things are much better.
We have challenges here too, believe me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're coming towards the end, so I want to give the opportunity before Maria gives us her closing statements or whatever, the thank you and everything else. Is there? I know we asked you guys a lot of different questions and they were very specific and stuff like that. Is there anything that each one of you can have half a minute to tell us that something that we missed, we did not cover, but you feel is important about you, your movies, your festival, and let our audience know about it? We'll really appreciate it. Argyris, let's start with you on that.
Αχ, έχεις κάνει πάρα πολλές ερωτήσεις και γρήγορα και δεν μπόρεσα να σε παρακολουθήσω. Πάλι μετάφραση θέλω. Με συγχωρείτε.
Argyris, what Cleon said is, we understand that we have covered a lot of ground in terms of questions. Is there something that in a half minute that you can add that we probably missed, or something that you would like to share with our audience?
Γενικά είμαι ένας άνθρωπος που λέει πολλά, αλλά θέλω να το αποφύγω τώρα. Το σημαντικότερο που έχω να πω...
I'm generally a person that likes to talk, but I would like to reserve myself from that right now.
Το σημαντικότερο που θέλω να πω είναι ότι είμαι ευγνώμων που μου δόθηκε η ευκαιρία να κάνω ένα ντοκιμαντέρ που το ευχαριστήθηκα πολύ.
I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do a documentary that I was very passionate about.
Και είμαι και ευγνώμων προς εσάς που δώσατε την ευκαιρία να παρουσιαστεί η δουλειά μου σε ανθρώπους που από ό,τι καταλαβαίνω την απόλαυσαν.
And I'm thankful to your festival for giving me the opportunity to present my work to people that seem to enjoyed it very much.
Αυτή η ηθική ανταμοιβή είναι, όπως καταλαβαίνετε, για έναν άνθρωπο που φτιάχνει κάτι, για έναν καλλιτέχνη, είναι κάτι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό. Πέρα από τα οικονομικά και από όλα τα υπόλοιπα που σίγουρα υπάρχουν.
For an artist, that's very important. And for me, it was very important.
Έτσι θα ήθελα να κλείσω. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
This is my closing statement. Thank you very much. Thanks, Argyris.
Michali?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank both the organizers of the festival and also the audience for voting for the film. We really appreciate your support. And also for the organizers, the fact that you took the extra effort to create this online version of the festival. It's a lot of work. You went through a lot of steps with respect to protecting the work of the filmmakers and promoting it online. It's really appreciated. The easy decision would have been to say, okay, we'll just put everything on pause until COVID goes away. But you did all that, and we are really thankful for that. And the positive thing is that I wouldn't have been able to travel to San Francisco to be with you at the screening. That would have been really difficult. But with technology and, looking at the positive side of things, we're here talking and, getting to meet each other, and this is wonderful. And hopefully in the future, maybe this hybrid model could also, stay so that we can have these personal also connections, even though we're not physically present at the festivals.
Very good.
Sonia?
Well, I would really like to thank you for going along with this online virtual festival. And as Michali said, even though you know that I would have definitely attended and visited all of you, but still it is a chance to share films and meet each other via Zoom. So it's good to always think of the positive side of what we're experiencing now. But generally, as a thought, I think what COVID brought up is that it's very easy for audiences to avoid, let's say, going to the cinemas and watch films from home. And even though it has the positive side, which we all just mentioned, I still have a worry and wonder if this will become something that people will prefer to do. In other words, if people
A new
will,
reality, a new reality.
yeah. And that's, for me, it's frightening. And
I think it's sad.
wonder if people will return to cinemas.
There's something unique about physically going to the cinema.
Yes, exactly. There's no comparison.
No, I agree.
Yeah, that was just
We
to
will forget the spiritual, easy way of doing things and return to social life.
yeah, the online thing, it was something interesting, something new for a lot of film festivals. It was a learning curve through the years, because while even we're doing the festival, the platforms themselves were evolving because there was something new to them too. And one of the, probably the, if I kind of throw it in here quickly, it was, we didn't realize, well, we kind of knew, it was how expensive it is to put a film festival on online too. The platforms are charging a lot of money, almost as much as actually being physically in the theater. That's how much the cost is for that. But anyway, that's part of the challenges that we all have on that industry. Maria, may I turn the floor to you and give us
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and I do think that, you know, the future definitely is to be seen. We'll see what happens. You know, I think we have all pivoted as much as we can, and I think we will continue to do that and be creative with whatever comes our way. And you know, they're definitely as difficult as the online was. You know, I do focus on the silver linings because we have heard from a lot of people in a lot of locations that have thanked us for the opportunity to watch these films, because if it was not for the online version, they would never have seen these films. Right. So really, you know, there is definitely something to be said about that. You know, of course, we all miss the physical presence of a theater. So perhaps we're at one of these times in history, like in many times before, where the new reality, perhaps it will be hybrid, perhaps it will be something else, but that remains to be seen. But the reality is we will continue to do our best to continue to help promote all your work, because that is what really our mission is, and we're very committed to that. So whatever the future holds, we will try to deal with that. So with that, thank you again on behalf of all of us, our whole team. Thank you very much for again doing what you do, giving us the opportunity to screen your film, and for being with us today to have this lovely conversation. We wish you the best in all of your future endeavors, and remember us in San Francisco. Okay, thank you.
Ευχαριστούμε και εμείς πολύ.
Thank you very much.
Before you guys leave, can you stay for a second so we can take a picture?
Yes, let's look. We're going to take a screenshot.
Smile and take a picture.
Smile. Very good. We got it?
I think so.
Okay, let's do it one more time. One more time. Ready? Everybody look straight. Okay. Very good. All right, everyone.
Guys.
Thank you.
Σας περιμένουμε και στην Ελλάδα, όχι μόνο την Κατερίνα.
Εννοείται.
Καλοκαίρι για να κόψουμε μαλλιού, έρχομαι Ελλάδα.
Νομίζω, Αργύρη, οι περισσότεροι από εδώ φεύγουμε το καλοκαίρι. Μην νομίζεις, αδειάζει η περιοχή.
Ωραία.
Very good. Okay, ωραία.
Πάρα πολύ που σας άκουσα.
Quick question. Do you know Stellana and Kika Georgiou?
Stellana, yes.
Okay.
Stellana, ναι. We haven't worked together in the past, but we know each other. We see each other quite often at the industry gatherings. Okay. Yeah. She's working a lot with Sonia now. Sonia Micheli.
Yeah, Sonia Micheli.
Yeah, she's they're doing a lot of stuff now.
Yeah.
Και το τελευταίο θα μου επιτρέψετε, με συγχωρείτε, από τη Θεσσαλονίκη, μια παρέμβαση από τη Θεσσαλονίκη που λες στα παράθυρα. Ήθελα να πω ότι επειδή έτυχε η ταινία να παίξει και σε 3-4 άλλα φεστιβάλ, ότι σαν οργανωτική ομάδα του φεστιβάλ έχετε έναν πάρα πολύ ωραίο τρόπο να κάνετε τους ανθρώπους να νιώθουν όμορφα. Αυτό είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό. Είναι κάτι που ξεπερνάει την καλή οργάνωση.
I wanted to make a last statement here about the organization team of the festival that is very good at putting a personal touch to the festival and making the participants feel very special and welcomed. Thanks, Argyris.
Thank you. Thank you. Ευχαριστώ, Argyris.
Like Maria said, it's a labor of love. We love it. Thank you.
Okay.
Καλό βράδυ.
Γεια σας.
Γεια σας.
Bye. Γεια σας.